You've been waiting. Now it's here. Watch this. The AO Infinity Rain. Let me tell you what it is. The AO Infinity Rain is a negative ion generator, but not like anything else on the market or anything else you've ever seen. This creates such an abundant flow of negative ions that it's undeniable. Something dramatic just happened in your body, and there is no question. You felt it, you experienced it, and it's like, wow. Let me tell you a little bit about negative ions, why they're so important. What are negative ions? Negative ions are these negative charged particles, and one of their main purposes in their life is to attract positive ions. Because positive ions are the ones that, if you look at a rusty bumper, that's positive ions. You start to see ourselves aging, we're wrinkly, and get all these things, that's positive ions, too many of them. Negative ions attract these positive ones and neutralize them. The environment we live in today, city environments, lots of crowded people, lots of electricity, lots of cars, lots of pollution. We're lucky if you went out into your front yard or into a parking lot or into a mall or a shop, you'd be lucky to see 200 negative ions per cubic centimeter. What does that mean? That means it's not very much. If you go out to the beach and you're walking along the beach, and let's just say the ocean's coming in really easy and slow, you're going to see somewhere between 2,500 and as many as 10,000 negative ions in that same cubic centimeter. But if that ocean is roaring in, that can be 10,000, 20,000 negative ions. You ever notice how you feel when you go into a forest or you go by a waterfall and you're up in the mountains, you're ways away from any of the noise and the pollution in the city? You just feel better. You feel more complete. You feel grounded. You feel that. And those are the negative ions. That's the difference. You're breathing in these negative ions. In fact, negative ions have been called the vitamins of the air because they are so valuable for us. And the rain does this. Why do we call it rain? Because, well, when you sit down and you turn it on, you feel like you just got drenched in a rain. It's constant from your head all the way through your body. What we're putting through your body in these negative ions from the rain is over 900,000 constant flow negative ions directed through your body. Not just going out into the air, but literally directed right through you. Almost 1 million negative ions, constant flow of this. Let me tell you what that does for you, or what it can do for our body. As we breathe in these negative ions, the more of those we can breathe in, the more benefit it has in our body. Just like if we don't eat the right food, we don't get enough food, we don't get the right nutrition, things don't work so well. It's the same with negative ions. We need them in our body. The negative ions, and even though that sounds bad, negative is a bad, the negative ions are actually the good guys. The positive ions are the bad guys. So the negative ions are the guys in the white coats and the white hats. They're the ones doing all the good stuff. And their job is to find these positive ones and neutralize them and bring them back down to balance. And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second, but let's talk about some of the benefits of being able to be in an environment where there's an abundance, even an excessive amount of negative ions. Some of the things, mood. It's going to help with your mood. You're going to feel better because it helps the body produce more serotonin. That's going to help with depression, anxiety, stress. It just helps bring those down. You know, like when you go on a vacation, you go up into the mountains or you go down to the ocean, all the worries, they're still there. All your challenges that you left, they're still there. But when you get to those locations where there's an abundance of negative ions, those worries and those cares seem to kind of take a back seat. And that's good, because now you're able to process those things, and you'll come back with new ways to deal with those issues. That's just on the mood side. So let's talk about other mental health. It's going to help clear up the brain fog. It's going to help with your ability to deal with emotional situations, because your emotions will start to balance more. Respiratory health. We live in an environment where most of what we breathe is toxic. Our lungs are continually being stressed out by what they have to process and what they have to clean out as we bring in that oxygen into our body. So it's going to help the lungs function better, and it's going to particularly be good for people with respiratory issues like asthma. These negative ions will help balance that out in the system. Wound healing is another thing. You have an open wound on your body, especially diabetic wounds. Negative ions are so powerful to help reduce that inflammation and help the infections clear out even better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel like you can run, 100 miles an hour. It's just so beneficial to have those things in your bodies. But real quick, a couple more things. Cardiovascular health. Your heart's going to feel better. And one that I think is really important to me is, especially with the world that we live in right now, is our immune health. It helps inhibit the sympathetic nervous system while enhancing and helping improve the parasympathetic nervous system, which just helps the whole immune system deal better. We don't have to go to the beach or to the forest anymore, because with rain, we have the ability to have that abundance of negative ions in our home at any time that we need. Now that I've gone through some of the benefits of negative ions, let me tell you a little bit about how negative ions are created. You ever seen a bolt of lightning? Every single bolt of lightning has as many as 300 million volts and about the same amount of amps. That's a lot of voltage. And every time one of those cracks, it creates negative ions throughout the entire area where it's going. And not only does it do that, you will also smell that ozone type smell in the air. It's fresh, it's crisp. That's the production of the negative ions happening in real time. Years ago, German physicists were working on how can they generate massive amounts of negative ions without the danger of a lightning bolt. And they came up with this type of technology that could create all of those negative ions and direct it. And over these years, they've refined it down and got it to where it was, semi-affordable for clinics and for hospitals, that kind of stuff. Well, over the last 2 or 3 years, we at Solix have been working on this technology. We acquired this technology, and we started working on making it for something that could go into a home, your home, to where you could benefit from these things at will, when you needed, when you felt like, maybe I'm not feeling quite as good. Maybe my moods aren't quite where they need to be. Maybe I'm having some respiratory. In other words, you have the ability to determine when you need those negative ions. Over these last 2 years, we've had beta testers testing this technology. In fact, at last year's Day of Discovery in 2023, Kai and I introduced at our break time at lunch our first prototype, and it was crude. And we had a line all the way down and out the room for people to experience 30 seconds of rain. And it was phenomenal. Everybody loved rain. Everybody had the same experience. Oh, wow, as soon as it turned on. In fact, we had so many people wanting to experience it, we had to actually cut it off, and probably 20 or 30 people that were still in line that couldn't. But this year at Day of Discovery, 2024, we had the unit set up out in the lobby, and people were able to try it, and the line was all day to let them just experience the effect of negative ions from rain. And it was phenomenal. In fact, we have a waiting list of people who are ready to buy right then and there, because, we all have times when we get excited about something. Oh, I got to buy this. And then we'll walk away And I was, oh, okay, maybe I don't need it, maybe not that. That wasn't the case with rain. People are calling in, writing in, when is rain going to be available? It's available now. And I want to tell you a little bit more about why this is so important and maybe why, for those of you who didn't get to see this, why you might want to consider looking deeper into rain. We always at Solix, before we put these products out, we have beta testers. People that test it, test our supplements, test our technology, and they give us feedback, and we're able to make improvements or changes based on that feedback that's coming in. The same has been with rain. So let me share with you some of the feedback we've got from the beta testers over this last year with rain. So the first one I want to talk about is a gentleman that came in, and he was sitting in the office and looking out the window, and I said, I'd like you to try this new technology. I just sit here in this chair, and turned it on, and same experience. Whoa, wow, what just happened? And over the next few minutes, he started to get more and more comfortable as these negative ions just continued to flow through his body. And at the end of 30 minutes, we turned it off, and we asked him, what do you feel? He said, well, I don't know how would I feel, but I can tell you that that billboard down the street, and he's looking out the window, I could read it, whereas I couldn't read it 30 minutes ago without my glasses. And he's lifting his glasses up and then putting the glasses down. He says, that is a miracle. That's a miracle, because I could not read that without my glasses, and I can read every word on that billboard. So that was one experience that we had here in the office. Some of the people that have had it out in the field, some of their experiences are pretty amazing as well. Let me share a couple with you with that. We had one gentleman that has a clinic. He had one of the units to test, and he had a client that came in who had Parkinson tremors. His hands would tremor and just shake. And he was sitting in the chair. They turned it on, and within about 15 to 20 minutes, all of a sudden the tremors started to become less and less. At the end of 45 minutes, there was no more tremor in his hands. Zero. He got up out of that chair and he says, this is a miracle. Well, his tremors started to come back about a day later, day and a half later. So he came back in the second day, did it again. Again, within 20 or 30 minutes, the tremors were gone. And each time he came, he got a little bit more time without the tremors. Now, it didn't take the tremors completely away. He still has to go in every once in a while. But it was the first time ever since he had started to get the tremors that anything gave him any relief from tremors. Now, this one here is pretty exciting. This and it was a little scary too, I'll be honest with you. We had another tester, and in this clinic, this lady came in, and she was pregnant. She was about halfway through her pregnancy, maybe a little bit more. And the tester called us up and wanted to know, would this be safe for a pregnant person? And all the research and all the studies have indicated that it would be perfectly fine and no issues at all. In fact, we have found that there's no issues with any type of a health issue out there. But this lady was pregnant, and she was concerned, rightfully so, for the unborn child. Now, this lady, this was going to be her third baby, her third pregnancy. And each pregnancy, she was sick almost from conception to birth. And it was horrible. Every day, it was the same thing. Well, she comes in, and she's sitting down in the chair. Before the session was even halfway through, all of her morning sickness and pregnancy sickness was gone. Zero. And she started to panic, and she got up, and she went over to the one that was running the machine and says, I'm scared to death. I mean, this is not normal. Have I hurt my unborn child? And they got on the phone and they called, and we said, no, there's no issues, but just to be safe, go in and see your gynecologist. She goes in, takes a couple days to get in. Gynecologist does whatever they do. Found out that the unborn child was perfectly healthy. Everything was working fine. So she came back and did another session, and she did another session. But she kind of waited, and she did a few, and then she waited until after the birth. The baby was born healthy, but the part of this story that I think is really exciting, she never had morning sickness again the duration of that pregnancy. The baby was born healthy, the mother was healthy, and so it settled everything down. Whatever was causing that imbalance in the hormones or the emotions or the chemistry balanced to where that sickness wasn't there. What a wonderful thing. That was exciting for all three of us, the tester, the mother, and of course us. These are the things that made us more committed to bringing RAIN and making it available to everybody in the Solex family. RAIN is so important, and when you sit in RAIN your first time, you'll understand exactly why we're so excited about it, because it's instant. You feel it instantly. There's no question something just happened in your body. Let me tell you just what happened. Your body is full of ions, positive and negative, but it's chaotic. They're all over in our body. They're just going everywhere and doing everything, and everything's chaotic. You sit down, you turn that on, and in that instant, all of the ions separate. The positives to one side, the negatives to the other side. And there's this calm in your body. It's just instant. There's no question something dramatic just changed. And now that they're separated, there's not this chaotic mess. The negative ions can do their job. Attract the positive ones, neutralize them, and do it. And in 45 minutes, your body is in balance. All that ion is in balance. And in 45 minutes, you're done, and you need to get up and get out and go out and do whatever you're going to do the rest of your day. This is so important because it helps the immune system. It slows the aging process down. It's not anti-aging, but it slows it down. It helps our immune system be stronger to deal with the airborne stuff that we're dealing with every day. It helps us be able to digest the foods that we eat, so that our whole system works better because everything's back in balance. Every single cell in your body, and there's trillions of them in our body, have a little part in there called a mitochondria. And that mitochondria is like a battery. So imagine you've got 1 trillion Tesla cars in your body right now, and they're all needing a charge. Well, in 45 minutes of sitting under RAIN, every single mitochondria in your body has just been fully charged and balanced to where you have the right ratio of negative to positive ions. It's a wonderful thing, a great way to help us achieve the health that we want to get. You add that to the scanner, you add that to your supplements, you add that to a better diet, you add that to a better frame of mind, doing your mind sync, getting everything in your body working the way it's supposed to, changing the way we think, changing the way we eat, changing the way we feel. We can move forward with our life in a way that's rewarding and exciting and makes you be able to feel good about everything that you do. So frequently asked questions about the RAIN. And these are good questions, so we'll go through them just real quickly with you. Are there any contraindications to use RAIN? No. We've had people with pacemakers, internal insulin pumps, internal defibrillators, all use the machine with no issues. Can it be an infant? Can it be a child? It doesn't matter. We know that it works well with an unborn child. We've had people hold a newborn in their arms, all the way to our oldest person that's used it is 92. Nobody's had any adverse reactions to it. The beauty of RAIN is you can get up and walk away. Nothing's attached to you. So there's no fear of, oh, I'm all hooked up. There's nothing to be hooked up to. So that's the one. Contraindications is important. The one thing, though, not a contraindication, but you don't want to touch it. You don't want to touch the head unit when it's on because it is creating an enormous amount of static. And that static is what creates the negative ions. One of the other questions that came up is, well, does it produce a lot of harmful EMFs? Great question. Anytime you generate electricity, you're going to generate EMFs. That's just the nature of the beast. But the amount of negative ions that are being produced far outweigh the EMF that is being produced in that process, that it neutralizes the EMF. it neutralizes the EMF effects on your body because of the amount of negative ions. So yes, there is EMF, but neutralized during the process. Some of the other questions that have been asked is it easy to move around? Is it bulky? And as you can see in the pictures, it's a nice pedestal. It's on wheels. You can move it anywhere in your house. How can you use it? Well, the most common is to sit in it, to sit underneath the rain. And you want to adjust the head unit to where it's about 1 inch to 2 inches above the highest part of your head. Any higher than that, you reduce some of the intensity, and any closer to that, it's going to be uncomfortable. So 1 to 2 inches is where it's ideal for your best experience in that chamber. And it's really simple. You have an up and down button. It's all automatic. You just push a button, it comes down to where you want it, and then you turn it on. When you're done, you push one button, it turns it off. And that's one way to do it. Now, one thing you need to understand is there's a head up here. We call it the rain because it feels like some things, but there's no water. But there is definitely a feeling of maybe pressure or air that is coming down from the intensity of the negative ions. So we call it rain because it feels like something's pouring over you. But you're actually sitting on a mat that draws those negative ions through your body. And that's why we call it a directed negative ion flow, because it's being directed through that mat that you're sitting on. But let's say that you have neuropathy in your feet, or you have discomfort or pain in your legs and muscles. Then you would take that mat, you'd put it on the floor, and you'd put your bare feet on that, or your feet, socking feet, not with your shoes, but with socks or bare feet on the mat. And then it's pulling those negative ions all the way through your body. So those are the one way, and most common is just to sit. But there's other things you can do with this. We're all getting a little older. You can lay down on your bed. You can move the rain over to your bed. You can adjust it to where the head of unit is just a couple inches above your nose, and the mat is below your head. And now you're bringing all those negative ions into the skin in your face, which is going to slow down the aging process, slow down the wrinkling process, help bring collagen to the surface. Amazing. Especially if you've just done a facial and then you do that, it's just going to make that facial experience so much more powerful. Another way you can do it is lay down on your bed or on a massage bed and adjust the head to where it's right over your back or right over your legs or right over your shoulders. So it's versatile. It's not just in a chair. You can move it around and use it as you see fit. The key is you want the head to be about 1 to 2 inches above the surface, the highest point of the surface, and below that is the mat. Those are really the only two things you need to be concerned with. That's the mat's underneath you, the head's 1 to 2 inches above, wherever you're going to use it. How long do you sit or lay underneath the rain? And this is important, 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, every mitochondria in your body has been fully charged. Just like charging up a battery over and over, and overcharging a battery is not good, you don't need more than 45 minutes. So 30 to 45 minutes is the maximum time. Now, you can do it multiple times through the day, but with 2 to 3 hours in between each session. Okay? And if you live in an apartment building and you're downtown of a city, you might want to use it 2 or 3 times in a day just to help balance that out. Here's the other thing, a benefit that happens when you're using this in your home, is that whole 45 minutes, those negative ions are being directed through your body, but they're also going out into the room, purifying the air. Your plants are going to do better. The air quality in your room is going to be better. It's truly a benefit for the whole home, not just the person sitting underneath. If you've got metal plates or pins in your body, it's not going to affect those. But take that 45 minutes and just relax and breathe deep and breathe in those negative ions, and just give your body that chance to recharge. It's your time, me time. But if you really want to enhance that and take it to the next level, before you sit down and do your rain, go in and do either an inner voice or a mind sync. Get that all set up and queued up and listen to that while you're in the rain, so that you're getting the benefit of not only the emotional side, but also the physical side of the rain. So lots of ways you can enhance this. Now, one thing that is really, really important with this is you need to be well hydrated. And when you sit down to do your rain, have a glass of good water with some electrolytes in it. Now, obviously, gold is a really good electrolyte. Doesn't taste so good, but it's a really good electrolyte. And if you put that into your water and you drink that down during that 45 minutes, the negative ion benefit will even be further enhanced, because you're giving the body the materials that it needs to help process this abundance of negative ions. But any electrolyte would be good. A little bit of salt in your water, or you can go down to your favorite store and buy an electrolyte powder and mix with your water. Whatever it is, you want to drink between 12 and 16 ounces of water that's got electrolytes in it during the time you're in that 45 minutes. Okay, so now probably for the most important question of all. How much does this cost? Well, it's less than you may think. It started out in Germany at over $8,000. In China, it was $6,000. But here, the retail on rain is $5,000. The loyalty price, so if you're on any subscription with Solex, your loyalty price is $4,000, and that carries 2,800 points. So, yes, it's expensive, but it's affordable if you take a look at all of the benefits it brings into your life. Maybe it's not the right time right now, but you now know that it's available, and when you're in that position, it's here. Now, I do need to say that we make these here. These are made in the US, and so our supply is limited every month, how many we can produce. Keep all of these factors in mind when you're trying to determine when the right time for you is to acquire rain. But we're happy to bring it to you, and we're so excited. For those of you that have been testing it and have been using it, thank you so much for your feedback. And now it's up to you. We hope that you find the time to put this into your repertoire of therapies in your home. And if you have a clinic of any kind, this is a no-brainer.